Boom. All right, what's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Waves Weekly, series I post every weekend where we cover recent news and current events that I believe will impact the markets. These episodes are meant to be more chill, so sit back, grab yourself a drink. Around these parts, we do drink a new drink every week. So today I am drinking Immunity Aid. This contains, if I can't find it, echinacea, zinc, vitamins A, C, and D, turmeric, lemon balm, magnesium, and a whole bunch of roots. So obviously, by the name, I assume it's meant to support immunity. It tastes very interesting. Low in sugar. You always want to avoid the added sugar, so that's good. About 45 calories per can. I would give this a solid 6 out of 10. So cheers to that, you guys, and cheers to the weekend. It's got a weird taste to it. 5.5 out of 10. Okay, so let's get into it. As always, we'll go over each topic that we're going to be discussing, and then we'll dive into each one individually. First things first, we will go over I want to read a few highlights from a few newsletters that I sent out on both Wednesday and Thursday, because these give my current thoughts on the current state of the stimulus deal, the stimulus talks, why the stimulus are important, why the stimulus deal is important to the markets. So we will cover this. Again, we'll cover this highlight from the newsletter. I believe this is Thursdays. And then I just want to read this quote on Wednesday because I 100% agree with what Steve Mnuchin, who is the Treasury Secretary, said in this in regard to Nancy Pelosi, who's on the left side of the arguments. And I just want to share this with you guys and again, give you guys my thoughts on this. We will then go on and talk about this, the most updated CNBC article, Senate to vote on $500 billion GOP coronavirus stimulus bill on Wednesday. Okay, so the stimulus talks obviously are still going on. Nothing is still set in stone. That's kind of what the reason I want to read you guys this quote is because this is the same exact feeling I have as to why we're at such a stalemate in these stimulus arguments. Because it's not even really talks at this point. It's more arguments, but it seems like we're making some progress. Again, I'll just read this to you guys and talk about it when we get to it. But yeah, we will cover this. We'll cover some key points here. Obviously, the stimulus is the most important factor to a continuation of a rally in equities, gold, silver, Bitcoin, everything. So very important at the top of my mind personally, and I want to share my thoughts around that with you guys. Moving on, Hertz. Again, we covered Hertz and Nikola yesterday. I did promise that I would post kind of the fundamental side of the stock movements today. So why the 128% pop in Hertz stock is absurd, okay? So we'll read through this, you guys. Again, Hertz is, although they did receive a line of funding yesterday, or not yesterday, actually it was yesterday, or a couple days ago now. So although they did receive a line of funding, they are still riddled with debt, okay? So this company is by no means in a good position, although it got like $1.5 billion line of funding. It is still in bankruptcy. It's still in the bankruptcy process, and it's still sitting on a ridiculous amount of overhead in their fleet. Okay, so we'll cover this quickly. We will then move on to kind of in the car lane as well. Nikola shares plunge after CEO says startup can go it alone. So again, we covered Hertz and Nikola technically yesterday. Again, you guys, most of you know this already, but if you don't, we're not going to be looking at any charts today. These episodes are meant to be more news related, so no charts today. That's for future episodes. But again, we're just focusing on news, focusing on fundamentals today. And yeah, Nikola has just been in over the past month. They have just gotten beaten down this was all their CEO. This is all their. I feel bad for their team, to be honest, because their CEO has just given them such bad optics. And Nikola, in my personal opinion, is looking very, very bearish. Just overall at the moment. Okay, so we will cover that, and then on to the content of the week, you guys. This is probably the best podcast. I listen. I've said this multiple times before, but I'll say it again. I do listen to about 4 to 5. I average probably 4 to 5 hours of podcasts per day. At least every weekday. So again, average probably 4 to 5 hours of podcast. I've listened to podcasts, probably 4 or 5 hours. I remember I calculated it one time. I'm not going to get into the details there though, but thousands of hours listened to podcasts since 2015. And this is one of the best podcasts. This holds a lot of weight this day. That's why I said all that prior to this. This is probably one of the best single podcasts that I've ever heard. So this is Tim Ferriss and Naval Ravikant. Naval Ravikant is the founder of AngelList. He is one of the most accomplished venture capitalist angel investors in Silicon Valley. He's one of the OGs, like same level as Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. I would put him at least, and many others do as well. Probably the wisest person I've ever heard speak. This dude is an absolute like guru. He's a prophet. And Tim Ferriss, obviously, like I've recommended his books in the past. 4 Hour Work Week. He has Tools of Titans, which is a great book as well. Tim Ferriss, one of the largest podcasts in the world, great dude, and Naval Ravikant, one of the most successful angel investors, just a great guy, so wise, so much wisdom in this podcast. And again, I'll talk more about it at the end, but Naval Ravikant on happiness, reducing anxiety, crypto stablecoins, and more. So they go on to talk about crypto, and Naval is an absolute fiend over Bitcoin. He is a Bitcoin bull, and it's so bullish when dudes as wise and as woke as Naval Ravikant are preaching Bitcoin, like Bitcoin bull. When it's about an hour in, I'll just tell you guys this now because I think it's so valuable. Please watch the rest of this prior to going to listen to it though. But you guys, I highly recommend you guys listen to this. And please let me know if you did in the comments down below, and let me know what your favorite part about it was. So the crypto talk is about an hour in. And again, you guys, I'm just giving all this away now because I want you guys to listen to it so bad. But crypto talk starts at about almost exactly an hour in. So if you want to just listen to that part, highly recommend that if you're a Bitcoin bull as well. But again, I'll start ranting about this more at the end. And of course, before we do get into it, please give the video a like if you do go on to gain value from it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Check out the Waves merch. Currently rocking this bad boy right here, the Waves Snapback Classic in red. Got some shirts on here too. Got the stocks, got the Bula shirts as well. So it does support me. And again, I do come from a clothing design background, so I love doing this, and I love making you guys, at least I think you would look good if you wear this. I wear it myself. So if you guys are part of the Wave Sam, appreciate it if you check it out. Link in bio down below. And of course, check out my complete portfolio daily newsletter. The daily newsletter is what we're going to read. These bad boys pop in your email inbox every trading day during market open, during hours of market open. So these are real-time updates from myself, not only discussing my trades, rationalizing my thoughts around my trades, but giving you guys my thoughts on the current macroeconomic environment overall, which we'll get into. So that is also first link in the description if you guys are interested. I really appreciate it if you check that out as well. If not, no worries. So let's get into it. Again, we'll just read some of these highlights here. Let's actually zoom in on this. And although the stimulus is what matters most in regard to market performance, I think investors are slowly beginning to understand that a stimulus is coming regardless. If it doesn't come prior to the election, it's coming afterwards. It's not a matter of if, it's when. As long as the printing continues, the dollar will continue to be devalued and equities will continue to go up. Per usual, I'll link an article below giving you today's update on the stimulus talks. I agree with Trump on this one when he says go big or go home. So again, you guys, obviously Trump is rooting for a stimulus. He's in the race for an election. And that's why, if you guys remember a couple weeks back now, time is really crunching together. So it might not have even been that long ago, but couple weeks back now, I'm pretty sure, when he tweeted that he was stalling stimulus talks. He was just completely rejecting stimulus and the market crashed. That was ridiculous. That was a very impulsive tweet. That was a very stupid tweet in my opinion. But now he realizes, okay, he needs to get a stimulus out prior to, I mean, there's already so much voting going on, but prior to like primary voting, he wants to get a stimulus out because obviously if a stimulus comes, if people get money in their pockets under Trump, if Trump authorized that and people attribute Trump to the reason, or to like a partial reason at least, that they got money in their pockets, that's obviously good for optics. That's good for Trump. That makes people like Trump more. And obviously Trump wants people to like him and vote for him because he wants to be president again. But again, Biden and the left, which is Pelosi, who is talking to Steve Mnuchin, is trying to stall. I am very confident in this. Nancy Pelosi is trying to stall stimulus talks because she does not want Trump to obviously get. She does, which is ridiculous. And I'd also want to preface this by saying I saw a clip of her. Someone asked about this specific situation of her potentially intentionally stalling the stimulus to make sure it doesn't go out under Trump's presidency, okay? Because obviously, again, she doesn't want it to go out under Trump because it's good optics for Trump. She wants to wait until Biden is potentially in office, and again, I say potentially here because she wants to make it seem like the left is responsible for the money in your pockets, okay? So that's why politics suck. That's why I personally hate politics, and that's why I'm sorry that I do occasionally talk politics. I'm not trying to talk politics at all. I'm just trying to be real and try to attribute or try to relate this to the market because it is very important objectively for the market. But I'll just read this for you guys. Mnuchin was asked whether Democrats are holding back out of optimism they'll win in a Senate majority on November 3rd and be able to spend through their own bill without having given President Donald Trump something to tout now in his campaign. That definitely is part of the reality, the Treasury chief said. Okay, so again, you guys, it's all politics. And that sucks because so many people are suffering right now, and so many people truly do need this money. That's what that reporter I was talking about did ask, is so many people are suffering. He was talking to Nancy Pelosi. I believe he was a Fox reporter as well. So he was talking to Pelosi, why aren't you approving the stimulus? Just get it done. Just get it through. There's already an approved stimulus that helps a lot of people, that helps people on the ground, gets people who need money. And that's what the stimulus of the Republican Party does cover that stuff. So again, you guys, I really don't want to get political, but this is all politics, and that's why I hate politics, and that's why this is ridiculous. Anyway, let's cover this, and then we'll close it out on the stimulus stocks. Just read some key points here. So Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell blamed Democrats for the current deadlock, arguing there is enough time to pass the bill and confirm Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett if Democrats do not obstruct this legislation. Democrats blocked a $500 billion Republican plan in the Senate last month and are likely to dismiss the latest GOP proposal as insufficient. Democrats are pushing for a much larger package. The party passed a $2.2 trillion relief bill in the House. The Trump administration has proposed a $1.8 trillion package, but that offer is unpopular with Senate Republicans. Okay, so these are very, very different. So they are going to vote on this on Wednesday next week, in a few days from now. So $500 billion and $2.2 trillion, that is a very big difference. $500 billion is 25%, or I mean like 23% of $2.2 trillion. Okay, so very big difference here. I know Trump approved like a $1.8 trillion plan, but the Republicans, I think, there's gonna be a stimulus regardless. Like what I said in the first newsletter, in the first little highlight that we read, there's going to be stimulus regardless. Whether it comes before the election or after the election, there needs to be stimulus to the economy. It's inevitable that money will be printed, money will be shipped to people, because if not, the economy is going to absolutely crumble. And both sides understand that that's not even an option. Even if it does deflate the dollar, which is happening right before our eyes right now, you need to do it to prevent a lot of actual pain and a lot of actual hardship in many people who are struggling currently. And that's why it pisses me off too. That's why it makes me mad that politics is getting so involved with the well-being and livelihood of so many people who are unfortunately at the bottom of the K-shaped recovery. Again, you guys, consider ourselves fortunate to be at this side of the K-shaped recovery, but there's a lot of people on this side of the K-shaped recovery that really need that stimulus. Again, stimulus is good for the markets because it devalues the dollar and it creates value within equities and assets like gold, silver, Bitcoin, anything that is hard money, unlike the US dollar, which is deflating because it's being printed out of thin air. And again, I agree that needs to be done for the well-being of many people, but it's also good for the markets, for investors like us, because it inflates assets. Okay, that's all the stimulus talk, you guys. I will keep you posted with that. As always, is just, again, I always want to spend some time on this because this, in my personal opinion, is the single most important factor to a continuation in literally every little voice crack there, literally everything aside from the dollar. Okay, moving on, let's talk some stocks. Let's talk Hertz. What happened? Shares of Hertz Global Holdings, a vehicle rental company going through the bankruptcy process, soared over 128% Friday afternoon after news spread that the company secured a $1.65 billion in funding. But here's why investors should temper their excitement. So what? At first glance, investors might think Hertz securing $1.65 billion in funding to continue operations during the bankruptcy process would be a good thing, especially considering the stock price jumped over 128%. Well, let's first explain what debtor in possession financing is and what it means for investors. Debtor in possession financing is only available for companies in bankruptcy. It's used to orchestrate the reorganization and allow the company to raise capital to continue operations while the bankruptcy process continues. And then we'll just read this and then I'll give you guys my closing thoughts. While the funding seems like a positive development, the opposite might be true for Main Street investors. Hertz already has a mountain of debt, and almost $15 billion of its total $19 billion of debt is linked to the company's vehicle fleet. So again, you guys, this is what I said yesterday when we were looking at the charts. Keep in mind, Hertz is still riddled with debt. Although they got this funding, they still have a fleet of vehicles. And you guys, vehicles, I'm sure all of you guys have rented cars from Hertz before, right? Hertz, Budget, whatever, Avis, whatever car rental you choose to use. You guys know, you guys see those huge lots full of cars. That's a lot of overhead. And business 101 is you want to not necessarily eliminate, I would say completely eliminate overhead if possible. That's why e-commerce, print on demand, there's so many useful ways of making products on demand and shipping them out, as opposed to just having so much product and like overhead overhead. It's just things sitting and not accruing you any value. It's actually losing you value. So them having cars, they still have leases on all these cars. They have loans on all these cars, and no one's paying them out, or no one's renting cars. So it's literally, they're just burning cash paying all these car manufacturers because they have leases and loans out on all these cars. So that's like the worst, and they're high ticket items. This isn't like hats. This isn't like shirts. This is cars. These are very high ticket items, which is the worst type of overhead. You never want that much overhead. Okay. So where we at the end of the day, the major lenders that help finance the company's vehicle fleet, among other major lenders, will receive whatever value is left of Hertz in whatever path they choose, be it liquidation or restructuring and owning shares of a new company. Okay, so this is pretty much to say the people who just funded them are going to get the remaining value, like whatever value may be left in Hertz, and that value might not even come for a few years out. Okay, so as far as like common shareholders go, retail investors go, if you're buying Hertz for the long term, this might take 5 to 10 years for you to see any actual tangible value in Hertz. So again, I love Hertz. I use Hertz. Hertz is the company, the car rental company that I personally choose to use whenever I travel. So it makes me happy to see that they're not going underwater. This is what should have happened to many companies, you guys, is just go insolvent, file for bankruptcy, and restructure it stronger. Because obviously the structuring wasn't strong enough. The financials weren't solid enough to withstand something like this. They didn't have enough cash, and they went bankrupt. So again, you guys, it's kind of like the natural order. You know how like forest fires burn down. Forest fires is the natural process of the forest, burns all the old life, creates room for new life. And you guys, that's just a little analogy for bad companies, for old companies that aren't adapting to the new times. You get burned down, you grow back stronger. Okay, so moving on, Nikola. Startup could revert to base plan without General Motors. Plans pickup will be abandoned without manufacturing partner. Nikola Corp shares sank as much as 16% in Friday trading after the electric truck startup chief executive officer, or CEO, said he sees a path for his company even if it can't come to terms with General Electric Motors on a proposed strategic partnership. Talks between the two companies are ongoing, but if a tentative technology sharing and manufacturing deal announced last month falls apart, Nikola will revert to a base plan without GM's help, CEO Mark Russell said in an interview late Thursday. So again, old Trevor Milton, Mr. Theranos himself, Mr. Elizabeth Holmes, did pull out. This new CEO, Mark Russell, is now really following in his footsteps and damaging the stock and damaging the optics of the company. Because the only reason, and again, I said this yesterday, sorry if you guys watched that, but the only sliver of hope that I had for Nikola, and I still have for Nikola because these stocks are still alive to some extent, is that they followed through on this partnership with the GM or General Motors. So if General Motors does, say, best case scenario for Nikola, in my opinion, is General Motors acquires them. Okay, even if it's all stock. If it's an all stock acquisition, that's the best for Nikola. They should just completely buy out Nikola in an all stock acquisition. It's good for both GM stock, and it's good for Nikola because it gives them the resources and infrastructure to build out their trucks, because there's no trucks actually on the road yet. And again, Nikola is still what, like $8 billion company, ridiculous valuation for a promise. And that's why Nikola scares me right now. And the only sliver of hope I have for Nikola as a company, as a stock, is if GM buys them out. So we'll see if that happens. And GM would buy them out strictly for the IP, because that's all Nikola is. Remember, you guys, Nikola is only IP. It's only intellectual property. It's not a physical being yet. So keep that in mind. And yeah, that's Nikola, you guys. Let's talk about this and we'll close it out. Excuse me. So once again, best podcast I've ever listened to, you guys. Listen to so... And I'm just trying to be real here, you guys. I'm not trying to brag, although it is like indirect bragging. I'm very proud of it because I do dedicate a lot of time to learning, and I take a lot of pride in the time I put into educating myself, because that's the game of life, right? Is always learning. I'm learning. I'm always learning. I will be learning until the day I die, literally. And I think that's a good way. No matter what it is you want to learn about, as long as you're learning about something that you think is beneficial to you and makes you happy, then just learn. But always be accumulating information, always be building knowledge, always be building that database of the brain. Okay, so Naval, Ravikant once again on happiness, reducing anxiety, crypto stablecoins, and more. And again, Naval is probably, I listened to a lot of his stuff before, but it really took me listening to this to realize why this guy is a guru. So he is obviously Indian. You can Naval Ravikant, a very Indian name, but this dude is like Gandhi, but like a venture capitalist Gandhi. So best of both worlds. He reads one big takeaway that I got from him was reading why the heck am I blanking on it right now? Was reading, oh my gosh, You guys, I'm blanking. I'm all bragging about all the podcasts that I listen to, and I'm straight up blanking. It's not psychology. It's philosophy. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, you guys. Reading philosophy books before he goes to bed. I kept wanting to say psychology, but it's obviously not psychology. So reading philosophy books prior to going to bed. And you guys, that's what I've read all the books I've mentioned to you guys before. Are a lot of self-help books, a lot of business books, because I feel like that will help a lot of you guys as it did me. But those aren't books you want to read before bed. I've learned that many times. It just kind of it doesn't necessarily stress you out. It just makes you think almost too rationally, which is not good prior to bed. At least that's what I found. It doesn't make me. It's a lot easier and a lot more pleasant to read fiction or again, philosophy. That's why this was really good to me, because I've always read fiction. I pivoted from reading, again, self-help business-oriented books prior to bed to fiction. And now that he talked about how he reads philosophy books prior to going to bed every night, I'm going to start doing that because I actually like the thought of that. So philosophy is fictional in a sense, but it's obviously connected. It's a lot more tied to reality than much of the fiction that you might read. So philosophy, it is beneficial, it is educational, but it's also very pleasant. And I ordered a few of the books that he personally recommended by, I believe, Anthony DeMello. One is called Awareness. So I did order the book Awareness. I'm very excited to read that. I will link that down below if you guys want to check it out as well. Tim has actually recommended that book in the past. So Tim recommended it, probably a year or two ago. I can't even remember at this point. Naval recommended it in this podcast. They were really talking about how solid of a book that is. So I will link that down below. I have it on the way from Amazon. I'm excited about it myself. And I will start to read that before bed every night, and probably continue to read philosophy books prior to going to sleep. Because again, it's just good to get the dreams flowing in a positive direction, especially with a good philosopher. Okay, so again, but they did talk about crypto. That was exciting. That is about an hour in, I believe. I remember looking at my phone when I started hearing them talk about that. I was like, I gotta let the Waves family know when, give them a timestamp as to when they start talking about crypto. So they do start talking about crypto at about an hour into the podcast, maybe an hour, 2 minutes, maybe like 58 minutes or something. But that general area, and you guys, Naval is a freaking Bitcoin bull. I didn't know how bullish. I knew he was interested in the crypto space because of some of the books I've read on crypto. Like he was in that book Bitcoin Billionaires with the Winklevoss twins. He was going to like early Silicon Valley secret Bitcoin meetings. So he's been in the industry for a while, but this dude is specifically a Bitcoin bull. And we love to see that, you guys. We're Bitcoin bulls here on the channel. So love to see it, you guys. I highly recommend this. And again, you guys, just type this in on YouTube. You can look up Tim Ferriss Show, Naval Ravikant on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you may listen to your podcast. Highly recommend it, you guys. So please check this out. Again, drop a comment down below. Let me know if you listen to this. Let me know what you took away. Let me know what value you gained from this, because this was truly one of the most valuable podcasts of the thousands I've listened to. So couldn't recommend it more, as you guys can tell, because I've talked about it for like 10 minutes already. But go check this out. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you're excited about going into next week. Let me know what trades you're planning on making. Let me know what stocks, what companies you're excited about all around, what videos you want me to make going into the trading week. Because, of course, I do want to make videos that you guys want to see. That's my priority, is making you guys happy. Okay, so again, looking forward to talking to you, looking forward to learning from you downstairs. Catch you down there. Until next time, Waves family, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.